Hello, YouTube. A few days ago, I received an inquiry on my Facebook page from a lady who was planning a prayer hike, and she inquired about how I make my trail rosary, which I also call a Bushcraft Rosary. And rosary, of course, is a tool used by Roman Catholics for meditation on the life of Christ and prayer. So I thought I'd shoot a quick video in case there was any other interest out there. I had sent her a message explaining it, but basically it's a single decade. Most rosaries have 5 decades of beads for prayers, and that can be a bit unwieldy. So a single decade is pretty handy, especially out on the trail. And I like the beads large enough so I can manipulate them with my hands and not have to look at them and know by touch where I'm at in my meditation. Now, these are also called were also called a penal rosary because in Ireland in the 1600s the British had placed some laws into place forbidding some Catholic practices. So the folks there had to hide their rosaries, so they would use a single decade rosary with a little loop on the end, so they could loop it around their finger and hide it up their sleeve. And so that's what I've created here, and that's what I find works really handy for me. What you would need to craft one of these is some paracord. Whatever paracord you like. You can use camo, or if you want something bright, you could use a bright colored paracord. Maybe something patriotic with red, white, and blue. You're going to need some beads. And one thing I've used is split key rings for the loop on the end. I've sewn it on to the end of the rosary so that I can just slip the ring over my thumb. And as I pray each decade, I can move it on my 5 fingers, and then I know that I've completed the 5 decades of prayer. But I've kind of just gone to making a loop, and I don't have to fiddle with a split ring. You also need a lighter to melt paracord. And one thing that's handy if you're working with wooden beads is a needle file, because a lot of times the beads are not perfectly formed, and you may have to route out the hole of the bead a little bit to accept the paracord. So a little needle file is very handy. You could have a work table if you're having a prayer hike with a group from your church. You could have a work table with all of these items, and you're going to need a knife or scissors to cut the paracord to length. Now for a trail rosary, I only use about a foot of paracord, and like I said, nowadays what I'm doing to make mine at the current time is I just sew a loop on one end, and then I place the beads onto the paracord, and then I just stitch another loop on the end. Now I could put a carabiner over here on this end. I could hang it up, or I could maybe hang some religious medallion on there that I like, that has meaning for me. For those of you that are Roman Catholic, you'll understand the bead arrangement. So the first bead down here at the bottom would be for the profession of faith, or the apostolic creed. Then you have the Our Father, 3 Hail Marys. Then you have Glory Be, and Our Father as you begin to contemplate each mystery for that given day. And then you'll have the 10 Hail Marys, and then finally ending with a Glory Be and a Fatima prayer. So I might start that on my thumb, and then when I complete that decade, I move it to the next finger, and I start my second decade. The nice thing about this is I can manipulate it one-handed, so if I start with a profession of faith and now I'm going to move to the Our Father, I can just move it with that hand. And as I hike along and contemplate the life of Jesus and meditate on the mysteries and miracles of his life and ministry, I can move each one of these beads as I pray. It doesn't have to be camo. If you like camo, I like camo. You could have a bunch of different colors and beads. This one here is very bright. This is one I just crafted using some pink paracord and some bright beads. A girl child might like this to have, or Easter colors, for instance. One thing about this, you drop this in the brush, in the leaf litter, you're not going to lose it. It is going to definitely stand out, and you're going to find it. So there's something to be said for bright colors. But a nice Easter or a color for a girl child. Here's one that's kind of got a patriotic theme to it. It has a red, white, and blue paracord, blue beads, red beads. So you could craft it any way you want, but and this can be done hastily. You don't have to sew the ends. This is just a simple knot. If you're doing a station on a prayer hike and you just people want to fashion one real quickly at a station and then move off on the hike, you could have these pieces cut and pre-sized, and then they just would weave on the beads that they wanted, pick the color of paracord they wanted, and make a loop, and then put a knot or two on the other end so that the beads don't slide off, and there you go. Later, if you want to touch it up a bit, you could go right ahead and sew the ends so that it's a more permanent arrangement. Really, you can make these any way you want. It's whatever really makes you happy and works for you. But there it is. That's the what I call my trail rosary or my bushcraft rosary. And if you're a believer and you're in the Catholic faith and you're doing prayer hikes with a group or like that, you might want to give that some thought. A handy little tool. Regardless of what your faith is, we're all the body of Christ and one holy church of believers. So God bless you, and have a great day. We'll talk to you later.